delta 9 THC, delta 8 THC, delta 10 THC, delta 11 THC. I've been getting tons of questions like this in my comments and in my DMs. By the way, don't DM me. It's much easier to reply to comments and keep things organized. So anyway, I'm Lex Pelger. I do Canna Education for CV Sciences. This is a new account, so you can help us out with a follow, and as always, ask me anything. Structurally, what's going on is this. This is delta 9 THC. You see where the double bond is? On this side is delta 8 THC, and the double bond is moved over one position. So you can imagine delta 10 is just around the clock a little bit farther, and delta 11 is around the clock a little bit farther. And by the way, the only difference with CBD is instead of 3 rings connected by that oxygen, that is open there. So CBD is 2 rings. That's why it's pretty easy to take CBD, close the ring, and turn it into delta 8 THC. That's how a lot of it's being manufactured out there. So in terms of what's happening in the real world, delta 9 THC is the regular THC that the plant produces that causes a psychoactive effect, and what humans have been using for countless millennia. Delta 8 THC and delta 10 THC do exist in the plant at really low levels, but it's being sold at gas stations and shops around the US and Europe as another way to get high in a semi-legal kind of way. Different states have bans on especially delta 8 THC. Usually this delta 8 and delta 10 THC is not being sourced from a cannabis plant. It's being sourced from CBD from the plant that's been processed synthetically into this psychoactive form that you can sell. I get a lot of questions about safety on it. Nobody knows. There's no real studies here. There's some stuff in animal models. The best guess is it's probably not that dangerous. It's not that different to cannabinoids in general. You don't have receptors here in the lower parts of your brain. It's not going to cause respiratory failure like opioids do. But it's not tested in humans. There's a reason that CV Sciences isn't selling these. They stick to hemp extracts, which I think is very wise of them, especially because they're aiming for health here. But the one to keep your eye on is that delta 11 THC, because it's produced by transformation within us. When you orally take delta 9 THC, your liver transforms it into the delta 11 form. The delta 11 THC is something like 5 to 7 times more psychoactive. So if you would smoke a certain amount of THC, you could say it might cause a moderate psychoactive effect. But if you eat it in an edible form, it could cause a much more intense psychoactive effect that, especially in older people who are susceptible to that, could cause a very negative reaction. You know, a bad THC trip can be as bad as a bad psychedelic trip. That's why the worst stories you hear about cannabis are from edibles. So it's always best with oral cannabis to start low and go slow. So there's a little bit on those delta THCs. Let me know if you have more questions.